Coming up next, a look beyond COVID-19 and how Center County dealt with another devastating pandemic a century ago.
Plus, controversy over a local school mascot and a new decision about its future.
The stereotype, and we can't have it anymore. We're smarter now. We're more socially aware.
And a very different blue-white weekend for Penn State. We're live at Beaver Stadium with the story. The Center County Report starts now. Good afternoon, I'm Elena Brown.
And I'm Jake Starr. Thanks for joining us for the Center County Report. We begin with new information on Center County's fight against COVID-19 as cases keep rising in our area. The regional vaccination clinic at Penn State's Bryce Jordan Center is once again open today, but it's now giving the Moderna vaccine instead of Johnson & Johnson. The J&J vaccine is paused as experts look into potential issues with blood clots. Pennsylvania has extended its J&J pause through at least April 24th. The BJC clinic is open Thursdays through Mondays. All Pennsylvania residents are now eligible for a vaccine that comes during a COVID spike in our area. As of yesterday, there were 97 new cases and 34 patients hospitalized in Center County, 3 of them on ventilators.
Some job hiring and businesses have started to rebound since the worst of the pandemic. Among the places hardest hit, gyms and workout facilities. And as Casey Comer reports, it's still slow trying to get people back to the gym.
I think just realizing in the beginning that this was actually a thing that we were going to have to deal with.
Gyms are among the local businesses most hard hit during the pandemic. The $96 billion fitness industry worldwide turned upside down last March, and a virtual and home gym era began.
I also ended up buying a lot of my own gym equipment and kind of building my own home gym in the end.
But just like this treadmill, the county is moving forward. With gym capacity now at 75% and the rollout of vaccines going strong, gym owners are hopeful that people will start to return.
Jen Donalo is the owner of Fitology in State College. She thinks in time, people will come back to local gyms, but for more than just the equipment.
Exercise is very much for most people, it's a social activity. And I don't think that you get that from the virtual platforms as much as you get it from going in and being around other people. If you think about the history of home equipment, what do they become? They become clothes hangers.
Despite the state allowing for more capacity, it's still a slow go for many gyms trying to lure customers back. But owners hope vaccines and positive progress in the COVID fight will make for a better year.
We've had many members just step away, and we're hoping for the short term where they're going to be able to come back and they're going to be willing to come back at some point. But yes, this has caused major economic struggles for this business.
In State College, I'm Casey Comer for the Center County Report.
According to one study of about 150,000 gym members, about 65% of them said they'll probably rejoin their fitness facility.
COVID isn't the first pandemic to affect Central PA. Just over 100 years ago, the Spanish flu swept through the country. Jillian Silviger says our area used similar strategies to deal with it.
It's like deja vu for State College. A century ago, the town also faced a dangerous health threat, the Spanish flu. And the reaction looked much like today's pandemic: masking, staying home, and shutdowns. Penn State Library's employee Sandy Morgard has been going through newspapers from 1918 and says there are a lot of similarities.
Instructions on how to make your own mask. I ran into that. So that was kind of really similar, very similar. And then the whole thing about closing things, closing the bars, closing the schools.
Penn State remained open back then, despite dealing with the flu and World War I. In the war's early stages, the U.S. began sending Army soldiers and officer trainees to colleges for specialized training. The university essentially turned into a military training camp and suspended regular classes. The Spanish flu also took a toll, and isolation was one of the only ways to prevent the spread. Here, located just behind the Lion Shrine, was a military barrack deemed the pest house due to the pestilence. It served as an isolation area for students and trainees who had contracted the flu. There were around 300 cases of Spanish flu in Center County, compared with 15,000 COVID cases now. Because State College was not one of the hardest hit areas, the focus turned back to the war. Retired archivist Lee Stout says by November 1918, things began to ease.
It really went back to normal in spring semester of 1919. America began to demobilize very quickly. Even though troops remained in Europe, for most places in the United States, things returned to normal.
Two challenges for the university and the community, 100 years apart. In State College, I'm Jillian Silbiger for the Center County Report.
Another interesting note, similar to the shorter football season played by Penn State last fall, back in 1918, the team still played during the pandemic. The season was 4 games.
In other news, road construction is restarting at a Patton Township intersection near University Park Airport. Drivers could see more delays at Burnell and Fox Hill roads. PennDOT plans to change the intersection into a traditional T-shape. Roadblocks went up this week and the roads will now return to 2-lane traffic. Burnell Road will be closed sometime in May. The new intersection will also provide access to the new Nittany Valley Sports Center. The $1.5 million road project is also supported by state and township grants. It's scheduled to be done by August.
The Pennsylvania State Police will change physical fitness standards to settle a lawsuit over how the agency's hiring process ruled out otherwise qualified women. The agency will also pay $2 million into a compensation fund and says its priority is to hire as many as 65 women for entry-level trooper positions. The lawsuit claimed fitness tests that screened out women included standards not required to perform a trooper's job duties.
The Bellefonte High School Red Raiders name and logo has been a controversial issue for years. Now the school board has decided to retire the mascot image. Reporter Shelby Lincoln takes a look at its history and the community's reaction.
It's been the school logo since 1938, a Native American man in a traditional headdress. The question of whether to change this image and the name of Bellefonte Red Raiders has been an issue since the late 90s, especially for Bellefonte alum Kamal Abul Hassan. His late mother was a member of the school board and called for a change to the logo.
I think kind of felt it her responsibility to call out what she saw as a misuse of Native American symbolism, and met with a lot of resistance at the time.
Last June, it came to the forefront again amid the national protest over racial equality. There were some who wanted to retire the image, saying it's offensive, while others did not, arguing it's a part of tradition.
And now 27 years later, the school board decided this week that change is the answer.
8 out of the 9 board members voted to remove the Native American imagery from school. The decision received some backlash from the community on social media. But for Bellefonte resident and Chippewa tribe member Kathy Pletcher, this has been a long time coming.
I'm quite proud of them and literally a little bit shocked.
Pletcher also says she hopes more education will teach students about Native American history in the town.
You have Penn State in your backyard, so I think that they should bring in history experts, wildlife experts.
The school board also plans to vote this month on whether to change the Red Raiders name, so the debate rages on.
The community as a whole deserves a clean break from our past. More than just changing the image has to happen.
The district now has a year to remove the Native American image. It's unclear what the new logo might be. In Bellefonte, I'm Shelby Lincoln for the Center County Report.
The next board meeting to vote on changing the Red Raiders name is scheduled for April 27th.
Coming up next, we look at the 7-day weather forecast as we move into a mostly cloudy weekend here in central PA. Also, thousands of children traveling across the U.S.-Mexico border have been picked up by the government, and some have landed here in Pennsylvania. We have the story after the break.
tomorrow, the eyes of the world will be on England for the funeral of Prince Philip. The private service begins at 10 a.m. Eastern Time at St. George's Chapel on the grounds of Windsor Castle. Britain has been in mourning since the prince died last week at age 99. Only about 30 people will attend. Royal family guests include the Queen and Prince Charles, along with Princes William and Harry.
About 150 unaccompanied children found at the U.S. border with Mexico are now in Pennsylvania. The government picked up nearly 19,000 kids traveling alone across the border in March. One group of kids arrived this week and are being housed in dorms at the Pennsylvania International Academy in Erie that's being used as an emergency intake site. The government says most of the children have relatives in the U.S. and they are trying to connect them with family.
Fishing is very popular with kids and adults in Pennsylvania, and it's local hatcheries that keep streams and rivers stocked with fish. Reporter Dana Brewer visited a local hatchery to see how it all works.
Trout season is underway in Pennsylvania, and hatcheries like Cedar Springs and Mill Hall are in the middle of their busy season stocking waters before it gets too warm. Cedar Springs Trout Hatchery is one of the largest hatcheries in the state, serving Central PA along with New York, Connecticut, and Delaware. Mill Hall resident James Tomalonis and his cousin Ann took over both locations of the family business that started in 1948 after the end of World War II. James manages the Cedar Springs location while Ann manages Zion Grove Hatchery in Schuylkill County. James explained that what they do is a little different than most hatcheries.
Grow all of our fish for live stocking, for sport fishing. We don't really get into market fish or anything like that. That's a different way to grow them, a different way to handle things, and we like doing this.
He explained that they stock many streams, rivers, and ponds, so even though they aren't being raised for the market, the fish will be eaten. They also don't import any of their fish or eggs, unlike some other hatcheries.
We maintain brood stock for all the species, except tiger. Tiger is a hybrid, so you cross brooks and browns.
They grow brook, brown, rainbow, golden, and tiger trout, and they also have different sized fleets for all their different stocking needs. Their trout are available for delivery all year round. Reporting from Mill Hall, I'm Dana Brewer for the Center County Report.
Trout season began April 3rd, and the regular season goes through Labor Day, with the extended season going until December 31st. And now over to Ryan for a look at our local weather.
Yeah, for those of you wondering where that spring warmth is, we might just have to wait just a little bit, as temperatures will warm up through early next week, but it'll be cloudy and chilly for today, as temperatures will be 10 degrees below average. But guess what? We have a rain and even possible snow chance middle of next week, with some of those drying conditions later in the week. So we have a lot to talk about. As the sky came at Beaver Stadium, mostly cloudy skies, as you can see, with temperature around 45 degrees. The winds west-northwest at 18 miles per hour, so it's a bit breezy out there. Feels like 37 degrees. 37 degrees in Johnstown, 44 in Altoona, so you can see some of those cooler conditions in the Appalachians. But as we make to our way in Harrisburg, 52 degrees. And temperature ranges throughout the state are in the mid to upper 30s and low 50s. And that's important because we got some precipitation. We can see some of those rain and even some wet snowflakes in the Poconos. And that's associated with this vigorous low pressure system that's going to be in Cape Cod right now, and that's going to move its way off the coast. But as we take a look through Sunday, you can see some of those pop-up showers, and that's going to really start to die off Monday and Tuesday, but with increasing cloudiness with our next storm system. And take a look at this. Rain and wet snowflakes are possible, so that's just something we got to keep an eye on. It's April after all, but it's not unheard of to see some wet snowflakes. But as we take a look for tonight, coastal storm departs a low 38, winds to the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, so it should be nice to go out and about. Tomorrow, still cool, 52 degrees with a high, so if you're out and about going to blue and white game, if you're lucky enough, should be okay to be out and about. But as we head throughout the next 7 days, temperatures will slowly start to warm up with even some sunshine on Monday, but increasing cloudiness on Tuesday. But look, 51 degrees on Wednesday with some of those AM rain snow showers, but Wednesday and Thursday you can see some of those conditions start to really dry out. So if you guys are starting to go out and about later next week, it's going to be a cool one, but it should be nice and dry. But now we'll bring it over to John with sports.
Hoping for some warmer weather soon. Thanks, Ryan. Coming up next in sports, the final practice of the spring for Penn State football is going to have a different feel than past years. We're at Beaver Stadium with the story. Also ahead, see how both of Penn State's soccer teams made a tournament run this week on the pitch, and what's next for them. I'm John Murphy with sports. Penn State football's annual spring practice wraps up this weekend. The scrimmage that would normally be the blue-white game will be held at Beaver Stadium tomorrow, but it's going to be a lot quieter than usual. Reporter Tori Bookwalter is live at the stadium with more. How's it looking out there, Tori?
Thanks, John. I'm here at Beaver Stadium, where normally fans would be lining the streets and the tailgate fields to celebrate another game weekend, but that isn't the case for tomorrow's final spring practice.
Penn State football's final spring practice is set for tomorrow afternoon at Beaver Stadium. And while the blue-white game has always been a spring favorite for fans and students, this time it'll look much different. After the school announced it was closing off the tailgating fields and only allowing first-year students in the stadium, seniors like Nick Butcherite voiced their disappointment through a petition that was signed by students, parents, and alumni.
It is our senior year, so it would be a nice sending off gift to us, the people who are leaving, having the option to go to the game instead of the people who are going to be able to actually go to football games for the next 3 years.
While local businesses were also upset that Blue-White Weekend may not have the usual crowd, Kelly Trosco, owner of Doggy's Pub, is still hopeful fans will come to show their support.
So we still feel that there are going to be individuals that are still coming and will patronize, businesses downtown. It just might not be as large of a showing as in past years.
Beaver Stadium may not host 100,000 fans this spring, but Penn State hopes to fill the stands in the fall. Reporting in State College, I'm Tori Bookwalter for the Center County Report.
Tomorrow marks the first time since the 2019 season that fans will be allowed back in the stadium. Although there was some controversy on the decision of who to let in, it does show promise for fans at future events. Live at Beaver Stadium, I'm Tori Bookwalter. Now back to you.
Thanks, Tori. Head coach James Franklin and the football team are happy to have at least some fans back in the stands tomorrow, even if it's just a practice. Safety Jonathan Sutherland and Franklin are excited to get back to some sense of normalcy in Beaver Stadium, but they missed some things they thought they never would.
As far as the stadium, it's going to be real exciting. The last time we played in front of a crowd in Beaver Stadium was not last year, but the year before that. So that's definitely going to be real exciting. And obviously myself and the team are real excited about that.
Or pulling up the Rutgers and nobody's giving you the finger and mooning you, and I mean that from a place of love. I missed that. I know that sounds strange, but it's been bizarre. So to be able to get into Beaver Stadium and have some normalcy with some fans is a step in the right direction.
After tomorrow's practice, Penn State takes a break before camp opens in early August. The first game is September 4th at Wisconsin. Penn State women's soccer's Big Ten tournament run has come to a stunning end. The Nittany Lions fell 1-0 to Iowa last night at Jeffrey Field. It was Penn State's first loss in the last 11 matches. The Hawkeyes' lone goal came from midfielder Haley Rydberg in the 48th minute. The Nittany Lions had chances in the second half but cannot convert. Penn State will now await its fate for the upcoming NCAA tournament. As for men's soccer, for the first time in 10 years, they have punched a ticket to the conference championship game. The 14th ranked Nittany Lions took on Michigan Wednesday in the semifinals. Penn State beat the Wolverines 4-1 to advance to the Big Ten championship game. Their last championship berth came back in 2011. Penn State will take on Indiana in Bloomington tomorrow. Bellefonte High School baseball was back on the diamond last night against Clearfield after their first loss of the season to undefeated Phillipsburg Osceola. The Bellefonte Red Raiders beat the Clearfield Bison 10-9 at Governor's Park. It was a close game for the Raiders and came down to them scoring 2 runs in the 6th and 7th innings. Bellefonte will be back on the field Monday at home against Mifflin County. That's all for sports. Now back to Jake at the anchor desk.
Thanks, John. Always look forward to catching some baseball this time of year. Coming up next, Pennsylvania hunters will see more changes this year involving deer season, turkey season, and licenses. That story is next.
Some changes are coming to the Pennsylvania hunting season this year. The Game Commission has approved concurrent buck and doe hunting through the 2022 deer season. This year's season will begin Saturday, November 27th, including Sunday, and then run through December 11th. Commissioners have also banned the use of rifles for turkey hunting, citing a decline in the turkey population. The Commission gave the green light for the use of digital licenses in place of standard paper licenses.
Looks like hunting season is going to look a little bit different this year, especially here in central Pennsylvania. That's all for today's newscast. You can find more of our stories on our website, centercountyreport.com. And you can follow us anytime for breaking news on our Twitter feed. That's at Center County REP or on our Facebook page. We have a CCR Instagram too. Join us for our next newscast next Friday. Have a good weekend.
We hope you enjoyed watching the video. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you did.
For the rest of our newscasts and featured stories, click here.
And for sports, click here. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.